Well, thank you and welcome to my podcast, Metalheads Podcast, Mr. Blayne Smith.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm a fan of your work. I'm a fan of Bangers as well, and also I just want to say thank you for showing a lot of love to our albums from Redefining Darkness. We appreciate it.
No problem. It's you get there's, I'm always obviously always just trying to find the best music, and you kind of naturally gravitate to certain labels because, the in an ideal world, a label puts out records that are going to appeal to a specific type of consumer. And then also there's just like labels that are easier to deal with. You also find in that process where there's labels that are like, you know, respond to you, or labels that like reach out in advance and stuff, which always I'm like, I don't want to, because of my position, I don't want to ever be saying negative things about certain labels on anything public. But like I do ever when friends are telling me about getting signed by labels or whatever, I'm always like, well, these are the labels that like actually reach out to me and say, "Hey, we have records," as opposed to waiting for me to hopefully find the records on my own.
Yeah, I get that, but we appreciate it. And yeah, it's just really cool to have someone like supporting us like that because we're like a little family, our label, so it means a lot.
Yeah, that's I mean the kind of goal of what I do is just like, if there's something really great that I think people haven't heard of on a label that I do have a great relationship with, Metal Blade, for example. Like Metal Blade are a delight to deal with, and I'm always happy to promote their albums. But a lot of times Metal Blade records everybody knows about, and so if I talk about them, it's just people are going to go like, oh yeah, I also bought that record, which is cool, but I'd much rather be able to take a record to someone and go, here's a record, and then they go, oh, I haven't heard of that, and then that's what's really going to keep people coming back and engaged with me, by me bringing them records they haven't found yet.
Absolutely. And I think we share that love of like underground metal and shining a light on bands that not everyone's heard of. And I love that. So a lot of respect to you. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
So for those people watching, listening, could you just give us a little introduction of who you are and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Blayne Smith. I work for Banger Films on their YouTube channel, Banger TV, where we make YouTube videos about metal, like reviewing metal albums, interviews, and I have a show where I spotlight the five best underground metal albums I can find out every single month. And then in my personal side of my work, the way I find all these albums is I am a Twitch streamer, and on Twitch on Sundays at 4 p.m. Eastern time at twitch.tv/metal, I look up every single release coming out 1 month in the future, no matter how big, how small, good, bad, as long as it's on Metal Archives. I open it, look at the cover, look at the band, find out a little bit about them, and listen to, I mean, a little bit to a full song. Sometimes 20 to 30 seconds is more than enough.
I mean, so as you mentioned, you're a host over at Bangers Films, Bangers TV. What's it like being a part of that team?
Yeah, it's really nice because you really do have kind of a lot of freedom. There is not a lot. I've never wanted to give a record uh low score, and been like told that I can't say that. Like, there's certainly things I can't say, but there's never been any sort of like trying to steer me in any way, trying to do this. It's just as long as it's not going to get us kicked off YouTube, go nuts. And then also if there's something you're really passionate about, you can bring it to them and say, hey, I really want to talk about this. So it's a nice place to just kind of have like a level of independence. Like, I really thrive there because I want to go out and find bands. I want to. I do this because I'm a comedian and I like metal, and I just like talking about metal in a funny way. So I I have this kind of nice thing where, unlike almost everybody else that I work with, that I know, if the entire metal world said, screw Blayne. It doesn't technically really affect me in any way. So I have kind of the most freedom of anybody. So it's kind of a really great environment as a result because yeah, if I want to say a record's terrible or I hate a band or anything like that, I can say that. And then it's only my friends that really have to deal with the consequences of that when they go on tour with that band and say, hey, despite the fact that I'm not you, I got an earful from that band for like half the tour. And I'm like, well, I don't know why. You're on tour with them, not me. But yeah.
So have you had that a lot of times where bands have like seen a review that you've made and like been really upset?
Honestly, like it's been really interesting in that a lot of people are like you do realize that a lot of people like this is their passion, but it's also their job and they know kind of what comes with the territory. And I've had bands that I've said negative things about that I've met that have been like talk to me about the review. I mean, I didn't like an Incantation record, and it was one of my earliest reviews. And when I met Incantation, John like joked around with me a bit, and we took a picture where he's flipping me off, and I'm like, no. So the majority of bands take it really well, and there's a lot of bands where then also on the flip side, when I say positive things about bands have been really receptive. There's a small minority of people that have taken things poorly, and to me, like again, as a comedian, like I just find that funny, like because my whole friend group is a lot of comedians and metalheads, so it's just like the amount of things we say to each other is insane. It's deranged.
Hmm.
So you can't hurt my feelings. So yeah, it's always funny when if someone got mad for like something and I realized I like, oh, I did something bad. Like I said something that was like offensive to them as a person about like, their background or something like that, or like I misgendered someone in a review. I would feel bad about that. But if I
Hmm.
say like this record seems kind of lazy and they're mad at me about it, that's funny to me.
Probably because it's true though, if they're mad.
Yeah, right? Yeah, yeah.
But do you find it difficult keeping that balance of trying to be honest, but also not being a dick?
Well, the nice thing is like humor does blunt a lot of negative. Like as long as I can figure out a funny way to say something, it tends to kind of make it like a little bit easier to do. There's always going to be some people that are like really passionate fans of that band that will get
Mm.
mad at me and say like, "Oh, just didn't understand the album or you're not a real fan or something." And sometimes I'm like, no, I'm not a real fan. I don't listen to this band and I just got assigned to review it. And not everybody that picks up a record is going to have listened to the last 15 years of a band's catalog. And they might just be looking for a new record and they need to hear someone's opinion on that record that's coming from the same position as them. And sometimes it's like, man, I know twice as much about this band as you. I don't know what you're talking about.
But I feel like metal is from the outside, it's viewed as quite a aggressive, kind of serious genre. I guess if you're not like in the genre, it can be quite daunting and quite scary. Do you feel like humor can help people sort of change that perception?
Yeah, my goal is to be like if I'm because I'm not the most out there face in metal. There's a lot of people that do metal content creation and that kind of stuff that are larger than I am, but I do think I'm probably the largest person representing the type of metal I do, and I think like it's important to kind of be the way I am representing the metal I do because the metal I represent is the kind of like spooky sealed off like danger box, that people are a little nervous to open. And I know a lot of people that like the same music and they're very similar to me. And I've met a lot of the bands that we talk about and I've interacted with a lot of the bands we talk about. And most of the time they're just silly little guys as well that just want to goof around and
Mm.
they're you meet them and they just want to joke around and they want to talk about they're not there talking about brutal stuff or their favorite metal bands. The amount of times I've done like a podcast or an interview and then I as soon as I can find something and just run off on a tangent where like we'll talk about Yes for 20 minutes like you know it's like
Yeah.
not like I'm always trying to present like the actual reality so people can because like I there's good gatekeeping and there's bad gatekeeping. I think bad gatekeeping is trying to like hide something, keep it for yourself. There is certain kind of people and actors you don't want in your scene because most of the time it's just people that you think are going to exploit it and kind of take it in a direction that is kind of for personal benefit or something like that. That's the kind of good gatekeeping we can do. The bad
Mm.
gatekeeping is like people that would be happy here and make a good contribution, keeping them out because they're not already in, and we're trying to keep this as some like weird in group. Like I would
Yeah.
anyone that just wants to come in and have fun, like come on in and have fun.
Absolutely. I feel like because I get questions about like being a woman in the metal scene, and if how do you do it? And aren't the guys really scary? I'm like, no, dude, I got some of my best cake recipes from these people. And this is what people don't realize is they're just people, right? Um, and I think that's what I like to do. That's why I do this podcast is to get like behind the scary metal person and to like
Yeah.
learn about them as a person and why they got into that music.
Yeah, I
And
think
what you were saying before, um, about controversial opinions and you not wanting to like offend people. I get that a lot because I've said a few times now, I'm not shy about my opinions on Cannibal Corpse. I call them the Taylor Swift of death metal, and I get a lot of hate for that.
yeah, it is really funny to me that like, and this is a thing that I deal with as well because I definitely have a bit of like a what have you done for me lately attitude with bands where it's like, look, if a band released one of my favorite records 20 years ago and it's been 15 since they've released anything I've listened to and they come out with a new record, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it because they released a great album 20 years ago. If they want to tour that great album that they released 20 years ago, I'll be there front and center. But other than that, like, uh, and I do think it's weird that like the attitude of metal should be that it should be like release great music. We don't put people on a pedestal unless they deserve to be on that pedestal. And this isn't the Supreme Court. You don't get a lifetime appointment to the pedestal. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
if your new record's bad, it's bad. And it's not that the band's bad. And again, like I said, if it's a band I like and their new output's not so great, I still love to see them live. But yeah, Cannibal Corpse, they're a great intro to they're a great way to get people into death metal, but like, are they the best death metal band? No. Are they the most technical? No. Are they the most interesting? No, no, no. They're like, they're meat and potatoes, and it's weird to kind of just like absolutely champion meat and potatoes because it just says like, hey man, I'm just saying this because I like think there's death metal out there that you would like if you'd
Mm-hmm.
like this. And I think we can find some more death metal for you to like. You don't have to stop liking Cannibal Corpse. A thing I always say is that like enjoying something doesn't make it good. And things that are good aren't necessarily enjoyable. Like a lot of people, I think, defend things because they like it, and you're not saying you shouldn't like it. You're saying, like, I don't think it's good, or I don't think it's good anymore. And they go, but I like it. And you're like, yeah, you can like bad things. I like all kinds of bad things. And like, I like power metal. And if anyone says anything about any power metal, I go, yeah, dude. Yes, you're correct. You're correct. I will never defend power metal. I'll listen to it, but if anybody wants to say just anything at all, I'm like, you're probably right. You're almost certainly right about this.
I'm a bit the same with tech death because I love tech death, but everyone slams on it and hates it, and I'm like, yes, I get it, but I love it anyway.
Right? I do find tech death entertaining because there's this like graph, right, where it's like your level of cool versus how good you are at guitar, and like the better you get at guitar, the cooler you get. But there's this point where if you get better than this point, you start to get less cool. It's not just a straight line up. You hit this point and you're like, oh no, you're getting too good. Stop playing guitar. Stop playing guitar so well. It's getting
Mm-hmm.
less cool. You're not cool anymore.
It's so true. And everyone gets surprised because they're like, how can you listen to that noise? And I'm like, it's not noise. I mean, some of it is noisy. I get it. It's quite robotic in its sound, some tech death. I understand that. But I just like it. I don't know what it is. And when people are
Yeah.
slamming on, but I can't argue with them. I'm like, yeah, I get it. I think it's sick anyway.
Yeah, it is funny to me that a lot of the people that are the most like if you bring up like a topic, like it's a lot of like your feelings don't matter. This is fact. The kind of like facts, not feel. The little people can get debate broy, and then you're like, Cannibal Corpse isn't the most technical death metal band that exists, and they're like, what? What do you mean,
Like,
Cannibal? Have you heard these? Cannibal Corpse is
yeah,
is actually a pretty technical band if you look. And you're like, dude, I hurt your feelings. Is what happens here. You're arguing a ridiculous point because your feelings got hurt.
exactly. And I think it hurts them even more when a woman says it to them because I have had a few
Yeah.
times I've had that like, yeah, but you don't know what you're talking about. Or, oh, it's because you're a woman, isn't it? You can't handle it. And I'm like, it's tiring. But I think also people
Yeah.
nowadays have forgotten how to have opinions. Like, we're allowed to disagree with each other's opinions and still like things and be friends. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Oh, totally. I mean,
I think
that's
people
kind
have
of
forgotten that.
yeah. The like the the vibe I try and keep because I have like a little community because I'm a Twitch streamer, I've got a Discord server, and so you just wind up with like a community and the kind of, there's even a specific emote that we've made where it's just a little it's called sicko, and you just use it when you like something that everybody else is saying is bad. You're like, I'm a sicko for this. I know this makes me a sicko, but I like it. And everybody can kind of just like feel good because even if I'm shitting on a band, even if I'm just like I go in on my stream because it's like I assume the band's not going to see it. I wouldn't say a lot of the things in like a YouTube video because the band will probably see that. When I'm not worried about them seeing it, I can just go off. But at the end of the day, I can still feel okay about that because there's a good chance I still like sold a record or two for them a lot of the times because someone in the chat will be like, I actually like that. And you're like, well, please buy the record then because the only people whose records I'm not trying to sell is Nazis. We don't listen to Nazi records on the stream. That's kind of the one we have to, and then everything else I'm like, even if I think a record sucks, like at the end of the day I just want to sell metal records. I would just want to help people move some units,
Mm.
keep things afloat because we are kind of metal I think is actually in like the perfect state it is right now. People kind of long for this day where metal was this big genre and it was kind of the main thing on the radio. That sucks. Like I don't want that. That's not how metal thrives. Metal thrives as like a underground counterculture thing where it's doing things that are gonna turn most people off. And right now we have this great underground kind of thriving world where most metalheads, you don't as a band, you don't need to have a million fans because most of your fans are spending like 10, 20, 34, 100, 1,000% more than most people spend on their favorite artists because, their favorite artist they listen to on Spotify. Maybe they go see the concert once if it comes through town. There's, most of us have seen our favorite bands multiple times and we own multiple physical copies of records and multiple shirts and hats and flags and stuff. And so we kind of put our money where our mouth is and support things. And I think that's kind of the really great thing about metal and what's keeping everything going so well right now.
Definitely. And I think a lot of that also is survive on the sort of like the stuff that we do, especially you like recommending stuff and sharing it and shining a light on bands that aren't as well known. I think that's a really huge part of it, like modern day tape trading, it's great.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
And
Oh,
that's what
that's
I think that's really important to keep alive.
yeah, here in Canada we had like a thing called Much Music, which was sort of just worse MTV, but we had a couple of shows on that would be like late at night. It wasn't like they were playing like crazy underground stuff, but there was two shows, Loud and The Wedge, that played like, Loud obviously played like punk and metal. At the time it was probably like there's new metal. You're probably gonna hear Godsmack on there or some shit. But still, it's like it's just slightly off the beaten path, and the Wedge played like kind of more indie rock, kind of grunge, that kind of stuff.
Mm,
And so just by having these two shows, you heard some stuff that you didn't hear, and then that made you go like, oh, well, what else have I not heard? What else is out there? Because I like some of the stuff on here, so surely I can keep going down this rabbit hole. And I think
mm.
it's it's we don't have any sort of like major mainstream thing doing that anymore, but that's again kind of good because we can just independently start up a thing and go, hey, here's records. And um
Absolutely. So you spoke about the modern metal scene. Which give me like 3 to 5 bands that are really exciting you right now in the modern metal scene.
3 to 5 bands. There's a death metal band out of Canada that just released a record called Hedonist. They are very death metal, but with like a little bit of crust in there. A lot of the band members have played in like crust bands previously, so there's like some kind of fun like DBD crusty energy in death metal, and that's death metal a lot of times I'm drawn to. My friend who runs a label out of Greece called True Cult Records has this project called Fell Omen that is like, even know how to, it's like blackened punk nonsense. Like he plays everything, he makes everything, like down to like he's playing the instruments, he's shooting the videos, he's editing the videos, he runs the label, he's printing the t-shirts, he's
Wow.
printing the like everything outside of like straight up carving the vinyl himself he's doing. And that's a really fun one. And then my favorite band of all time is releasing a record this week on October 3rd, Hooded Menace, new album coming out. It's obviously not a newer band, but I've been the like main online champion of Hooded Menace, and every time anything happens with Hooded Menace, I have a bunch of people that tell me like you're how I heard Hooded Menace. And so that feels really good to be like, hey, this is my favorite band, that I'm like their unofficial street team. I'm like handing out flyers. I'm like, tagging stuff.
They're a great band though.
Yeah.
Um, the Tritonus Bell, or however the fuck you pronounce it, like I am obsessed with that album. And when it came out, I was telling everyone, and they were like, "Okay, stop talking about this album." I'm like, no, you have to listen to it. It's like it's everything I want in an album, and it's got my favorite cover on the album, like my favorite color. It's perfect, and I wang on about it now still. And then I saw they're releasing a new record, and I was like, "This is great. They're so good."
It does. I have noted it is one of those weird kind of bands where, like, if you do happen to listen to them, you generally turn into like a weird person that has to like tell everybody about it. I'm just like, calm down. They are really that good, and it's just
Mm,
really a matter to me. I think it's a matter of whether you've heard them or not is kind of what it comes down to.
I think so. I think Blood Ornaments is one of my favorite metal tracks ever.
It's like they they are an example of a band that when I complain about like you know when I complain about bands not releasing good records, that like people are like, oh, but this is like a very important band, not they're not the oldest band in the world, but at this point they've been around like what, like 18 years,
Mm,
like 19 years. So, like, if a band can still, like, their last record was probably their, like, biggest, most well-received record. And if a band, 19 years in their career can be doing that, then, yeah, if a band over that's more popular, that's also at 19 years releases a bad album, I'm going to say this is a bad, like, you can keep making good records 19 years in. There's no reason to get lazy and, like, just and if you are gonna do that, just be honest.
yeah. Or
Just be honest. I
just
want to put an
well,
addition on the house. I need to do a new tour, so we're putting out a new record.
yeah, 100%. I have some bands that pop into my mind, but I'm not gonna say.
Right? We
Right.
all do.
Who was the first ever metal band that you saw live?
technically my first concert, my parents took me to Bryan Adams, and that was not metal, and that's not good. And then they did redeem themselves by taking me to see Jimmy Page. So that was my second concert. And then my first alone concert was Sum 41, which is a punk band, because when I was a
Mm,
teenager, punk was kind of punk was sort of the main accessible thing. A lot of local punk bands. So I was like, I'm a big believer in like punk and metal are the same world, and
mm,
there should be way more crossing over between those two things. Um, it would have been something local, like there was this band called Electro Quarterstaff, which was just like ridiculous, like techie guitar nonsense. They had three guitar players, no bass player, and a drummer, and the
wow.
guitars were tri-harmonized. It was just a completely like ridiculous thing. It was very silly. I would have saw that as a teenager. That might have been the first one. I have such a bad memory. Again, it's just like you go to like hundreds of shows and you're like,
Mm,
I'm turning 40 next year, and so much of it falls out of your brain.
I get it. I
I
feel
forget
you.
I forget tattoos I have on my body. I'll go like, oh, I don't have a snake tattoo. Maybe I should get a snake tattoo. And then someone will be like, you have two. And I'm like, what? Oh, they're on my back. I can't see them on the
That's the
back side. I
problem.
forget.
I'm the same
Yeah.
with yeah, I forget. And then my partner, he'll be like, he'll say something about it. I'm like, oh fuck, yeah, I've got yeah. Um, so I like to end my episodes with a little game.
Yeah.
I mentioned it earlier. And the game people listening will know is called Gift or Curse. I'm going to tell you five things one at a time, and you have to tell
Mhm.
me whether you think that thing is a gift for the world or a curse upon the world. Pretty simple, not necessarily metal related, just anything. And then the fifth one is a recurring one that I ask everybody. So I'm excited to see your answer to that. Number one, pumpkin spice flavored stuff. Gift or curse?
I do think it's a gift. I don't really drink anything. I'm not big on sweets, so it's very sweet. But my wife likes pumpkin spice. But what she does is because the whole thing about pumpkin spice is that it's not pumpkin, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's pumpkin. It's how you spice pumpkin to make it taste the way people like. So she like and this I really like. So maybe this is the whole reason that I have a positive association with it is she is a bit like me in that she can get like a little obsessive over things and be like, I want to do it like proper, like, I want to find the real metal bands that are making real music, kind of like that. So has made this like she makes this like pumpkin puree thing that she adds to coffee as like because we're also vegan, so it also adds kind of like a creaminess to it. So my wife went like full psycho mode on pumpkin spice, and I really like when people get too obsessed with something and like want to get really authentic or like really genuine or really down to the root of something. So that's why I'm going to say gift because hopefully it can inspire some kind of psychotic rabbit hole in someone else too.
Oh, that's kind of sweet. I mean, I'm on the curse side of things, but that's because I don't think I've tried authentic. I think it's quite an American thing, the whole pumpkin
Yeah.
spice concept. In
Yes.
Europe, it's like you see it at Starbucks. Do you know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
not a thing we have over here. So it tastes kind of soapy, and I hate it. And if anyone ruins my coffee, I lose my shit. So don't put stuff that tastes like soap in my coffee. That's my experience of it. You know.
Yeah, it's definitely like the it's a very American instinct to be like, hey, here's a thing that people like the way it is and really enjoy. How how do we add sugar to it?
Yeah,
Like, how do we add more addictive substances to one of the most addictive things on earth? It's a very American it is kind of peak capitalism for sure.
it is because yeah, we can add more stuff and charge more money for it. Like so good. Cool. Two, crowd killing in mosh pits. Gift or curse?
that's definitely I'm on the curse side. I've gone to, like I said, I've existed in the both the punk, hardcore, and metal world. Um, I the the funniest thing that like you get the difference between the worlds where I'm like, like it feels to tie it back to the last one, crowd killing feels very American because it's this very like I'm at a concert and I am going to do something that I want to do because my individual desires and freedoms matter more than everybody else's comfort. Whereas
Hmm.
like metal moshing is like this like community, everybody kind of interacting with each other. And there is no mosh pit of any kind in the world that you will get picked up at faster. Just like you fall on the ground, there's a 300-pound power lifter yanking you up back to your feet and patting you on the back within like 2 seconds of you hitting the ground. And any other mosh pit outside of like a proper metal mosh pit, you are getting trampled.
Number three, reaction YouTuber discovering metal for the first time. Gift or curse?
At the I am slightly optimistic and I am gonna say gift to kind of go against contrary opinion on that because I don't care about them and I don't care about what they're doing and you know it reaction content is frequently very lazy. You can do it well and interesting, but frequently it's lazy. But if you are going to just play a song, it's going to get your audience to hear the song and then there could because like a lot of reaction YouTubers, their audience is like 14-year-olds,
Hmm.
it's like just literal children. It is literal children and maybe a literal child hears something and then goes, hey, that's kind of cool, and then they kind of go down a rabbit hole. And so you know their reaction YouTubers gonna react, at least if they react to something that we like. Because again, like I said, right, there's good gatekeeping and there's bad gatekeeping. I don't personally want like a reaction YouTuber like reacting at a metal show or something. It's like, ugh,
Yeah.
get out of here. But if they played an undeath video and a kid hears undeath, it's never going to be something that obscure. But that's all it really takes, right? Like most of us got into metal through something bad. Like one of my first, like I was in I was in competitive orchestra in school.
Wow.
You'd go to a thing and you'd play a piece and you'd win or lose. Very weird thing to do. And because I was in competitive orchestra when Metallica released Symphony and Metallica, I was like, hey, I can relate to this as like a child. and and that was not my first metal CD, but one of my early metal CDs. And then I got really into Metallica from that. And then I got into the underground, and now I mostly spend my time making fun of Metallica. But all it takes, it can be a weird spark. So spark something weird for a kid, and that's good.
That just competitive orchestra. I had all sorts of pictures in my head. That sounds fun, but very strange too. But I mean, hey,
Incredibly strange.
at number four, Crocs, gift or curse.
Crocs to me, definite curse. I know there's like it's weird because metal has gotten excited about Croc. Like there's a bunch of metal bands. Again, to mention, I think Undeath have like,
Uh-huh.
they'll do like Croc charms and stuff and Croc merch. And I'm not huge on feet in general, and I'm certainly not huge on open holes into footwear,
Mm.
especially because like like there's it's a rubber box. It doesn't breathe. Doesn't it's Crocs are for kitchens and hospitals, and I am going to say that wearing Crocs if you're not like a line cook or like a dishwasher or like a nurse or something is stolen valor. The people in Crocs, it's like guys in like tactical military boots that didn't say it's stolen valor. Are you are not on your feet enough in a job that's got enough gross spillage that you need some kind of footwear like that.
All in valor. You're so right.
A lot of the times the things people are putting on them, like I do love
Yeah.
an opportunity to like accessorize something, but they kind of I don't know, the charms and things that people are putting on them never have a it's like I don't know, it gives me like um,
I get
it
it.
just makes
I
me
get it.
squirm.
I get it. Number five, this is my recurring one. I ask everyone this. Flavored condoms, gift pass.
Well, as a guy that got a vasectomy,
Yeah.
I am definitely going to fall on the cursed line because, uh, I mean, out like I like I don't know a situation I'm in where I need a condom to taste good. You know what I mean? I feel like there is, there is care. I've never particularly gotten a lot of oral with a condom on in my life. I don't know
Right.
who's like if vaginas had taste buds, it might make a bit more sense to me, but I feel like I feel like I the only again well, again, we can do stolen valor on these because a flavored condom, like that, those are for sex workers to use. Those are for sex workers to use to kind of, help alleviate a part of the job, and you don't need that. Stolen valor once again, using them, civilians using them, stolen valor. I'm calling it.
Okay. I agree. I think, yeah, that's a fair point. Okay.
I always, like I said, this is the same way I approach reviewing, where it's like, if I'm going to say something critical, if I'm going to say something negative, I've got to find the like goofiest way to present it.
I mean, it sugarcoats it, right? Well, thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Happy to do it, and happy to hear Redefining Darkness releases and all the underground labels out there and all the underground bands, and I hope I sell records for everybody.